Oops. Whoa. Everything's not in order. My bad. Give me a second. Where's the picture? Is it there? There it is. And my camera's not exactly how I want to change. So let me fix it a bit. Ah! Oh my god. I couldn't find my glasses. And I think that's why I'm so late up. Everything's not in order, just like always. But that's fine. That's okay. I don't care. I do need a fucking shave. I hope I sound okay. I need to get a new mic soon. That's also a stand mic. Or I could be on a fucking headset. I don't know. Mics suck. So I'll eat gummy bears in protest. Too much bed, but whatever. Are those pillows? Yeah, just a bunch of them. I was looking for my fucking glasses everywhere. So I just threw shit everywhere. I should have had it all fucking not in a bundle like that, but whatever. I'm tired. I'm not gonna really draw for too long. I'm not even sure what I'm gonna draw. I think. Maybe I do know. I do know that this thing isn't really. Oh, there we go. I think. Harry can talk now. I've been wanting to get a new model, but I've noticed it's hard for me to not have a camera. I don't know why. So I just have both. It looks a little weird, but at the same time, I don't care. My bad. I'm having a brain fart. What is what's the deal? Oh, dude. Oh my lord. I probably shouldn't be on too long. I'm getting a little tired already, but let me put on something to listen to or watch.
Kang Dynasty. So Kang appears above Earth and claims he is not here to destroy it, he is here to save it. As a time traveler, he shows the Avengers countless possible futures where Earth is wiped out by undead armies, cosmic disasters, alien invasions, mutant tyrannies, and environmental collapse. His argument is simple: Earth is doomed without him. Kang positions himself not as a conqueror, but as the only ruler capable of guiding humanity into a future where it survives it all. When world governments reject him, Kang drops the act and makes his real move clear. This isn't diplomacy, it's an ultimatum. Instead of attacking Earth directly, Kang plays a long game. He deliberately fractures the planet, allowing wars, riots, and power struggles to erupt everywhere. Atlantis attacks coastlines, deviants rise from underground, radioactive living dead soldiers overrun region, and entire nations fall while others hesitate to intervene. Kang understands something crucial. A divided Earth is already halfway conquered. The Avengers are stretched thin across the globe, fighting multiple existential threats at once, while Kang watches from orbit, studying them like chess pieces. In here, Kang is exhausting hope, coordination, and trust itself. As the war escalates, the Avengers start losing badly. Heroes are corrupted, captured, or killed. Captain America is forced to fight friends who've been transformed into monsters. Thor struggles with rage and grief. Entire cities fall and eventually Earth surrenders. Kang wins. Prison camps are built. Resistance movements are crushed. And humanity becomes an empire in waiting under Kang's rule. This is one of the rare Marvel stories where the villain actually succeeds for a long stretch. Even after Earth's surrender, resistance survives. Some Avengers escape into space and stumble into a second cosmic threat, a living pyramid of pure evil tied to ancient fragments of light. Through sacrifice and unity, the heroes destroy this greater darkness, gaining the means to strike back. Meanwhile, on Earth, rebellion sparks again. Kang's control isn't perfect, and his empire begins to crack from within. The Avengers regroup, rally what forces remain, and prepare a final assault, not just to win Earth back, but to end Kang's reign permanently. The climax of the Kang dynasty is pure comic book insanity in the best way. Kang manifests as a colossal, hard light projection, literally throwing over cities, while Captain America becomes a giant-sized symbol of resistance to face him. Kang believes order justifies atrocity. Cap believes freedom is worth any cost. As Kang's ship is destroyed and his empire collapses, the final confrontation comes down to Captain America versus Kang, one-on-one. And obviously Cap wins, because Kang underestimates humanity's refusal to submit. Even in victory, the Kang dynasty refuses a happy ending. Cities are destroyed, millions are dead, the Avengers stop Kang, but they can't undo the trauma he caused. Earth is free, yes, but scarred. Kang is imprisoned, briefly because Kang always escapes, and in the final twist, Kang kills his own son, revealing that the entire conquest was never about ruling Earth, but creating the perfect heir. Blood Hunt. It kicks off like Marvel deciding to hit the emergency button on Earth 616. The sky goes black worldwide, not a storm, not an eclipse, but a straight up supernatural blackout that bolts out the sun, which is basically the go signal for every empire on Earth to start moving openly. What makes it scarier is the method. Dark Force users, people tied to the Dark Force dimension, start exploding or rupturing into portals, like living breach points that help flood the world with darkness. So this isn't vampires got brave. This is a coordinated operation with a magical science backbone, and it immediately turns cities into fearing grounds. Once the darkness hits, vampires don't just attack one place. We are talking global. You see outbreaks across countries, chaos in the streets, and heroes realizing this isn't a random rise, it's an invasion. The event flexes hard by showing that even Doom treats this like a real threat, but also like something he planned for. Latveria has a nope field. Vampires crossing the border burst into flames, which is such a Doom move. My nation is safe, the rest of you figure it out. Meanwhile, the heroes are trying to triage the world falling apart in real time. Stop the attacks, stop the breaches, stop the panic, and figure out who is coordinating this. The Avengers try to respond like they always do and get overwhelmed, and the reason is the Blood Coven, basically a squad of ultra-dangerous vampires built to fight superhumans. They target symbols, taking down and capturing major heroes like Thor, Wanda, and Black Panther in the main series, because breaking the world's defenders psychologically is part of the war plan. The message is clear: your gods and icons can bleed too. And that's when you realize this event isn't about Dracula doing Dracula things. It's something bigger and way more organized. The sickest pivot early on is that Blade appears to be the guy with a plan, until he isn't. He links up with Strange and Clea, talks like the expert, and then boom, he betrays them, revealing he's at the center of the nightmare. If the one guy who should be vampire-proof is compromised, then anyone can be compromised. The heroes start realizing this isn't just Blade went evil either. There's something wearing Blade, using his rep, his skills, and his access to move pieces around the board while everyone is distracted by the surface-level vampire apocalypse. Eventually, the mask comes off. The mastermind is Varnai, the first vampire, basically the original source code of vampirism returning to claim the world. That's why everything feels larger than vampire politics. The ritual stuff, the temple, the Dark Force flood, this is an ancient plan reaching its endgame. On the hero side, you get the best kind of Marvel desperation alliance. Dracula reluctantly helping because Blade and Varnai threatens his entire vampire nation too. And then the other nuclear twist. Dr. Doom steps in, offers a solution, and demands the thing he always wants: power and authority. Doom maneuvers into becoming Sorcerer Supreme, and you know this is going to be a problem later. The last stretch is basically everyone throwing their best shot while the world is suffocating. The heroes need the darkness gone, the vampire chain of command broken, and Blade saved, while Vornai is trying to evolve into something even worse. The resolution is a mix of bloodline weakness, with Blade's daughter being the key, and heroes making ugly choices, and Doom performing some kind of magic. The darkness recedes, the immediate apocalypse ends, and Doom immediately flips the script. He doesn't just save the world, he claims credit and keeps the mantle, setting up the political magical fallout that rolls straight into one world under Doom. Spider Island. It starts with one simple idea. What if everyone in New York suddenly got Spider-Man's powers? At first, it seems almost harmless. A few criminals, a couple of cops, some civilians reporting sticky fingers, and weird strains. But very quickly, hospitals fill up and panic spreads. Peter Parker realizes something is very wrong, especially since this happens right as he's dealing with a major personal problem. His spider sense has been jammed, thanks to Horizon Labs tech. And while the city slowly turns into Spider-Man cosplay gone wrong, Peter is stuck relearning how to fight without his greatest advantage. Things explode when criminals with spider powers start dressing as Spider-Man and committing crimes all over the city. From the outside, it looks like Spider-Man has completely lost it. The Avengers show up and immediately start throwing hands, including at the real Peter Parker. With dozens of web slingers everywhere, nobody can tell who's real anymore. Peter is forced to step out of the fight because his presence just confuses things more. This is where the story gets clever. Peter realizes Spider-Man doesn't have to save the city alone. Peter Parker can inspire it instead. Peter reveals himself publicly as just another New Yorker with spider powers and rallies the city. Suddenly, teachers, nurses, cops, and regular people start fighting back together. But while this teamwork is happening, the situation keeps getting worse. The infection evolves, people don't just have spider powers anymore, they begin mutation into full spider monsters. Meanwhile, Anti-Venom, as Eddie Brock, is running around curing people. Agent Venom goes undercover, and Reed Richards quarantines the city trying to find a real solution. The event stops being fun chaos and turns into straight-up horror. At first, everything points to the Jackal, which makes sense given his history with cloning and Spider-Man. But the real mastermind is revealed to be Adriana Soria, the Spider Queen. She can physically control anyone infected through the Great Web, turning New York into her personal hive. Even Captain America and J. Jonah Jameson aren't immune. Spider Queen grows stronger the more spider people exist, eventually becoming a near-godlike entity. At this point, Madam Web drops the bombshell. The only way to stop her might be to kill her, something Peter absolutely refuses to do. With no other option, Spider-Man teams up with Kane, his darker clone, and the heroes launch a final assault. Peter uses his greatest strength, not punching but building. Using Doc Ock's Octobots and Reed Richards' cure, he mass injects the entire city, stripping the Spider Queen of her power. But she still won't get down. This is where Kane crosses the line. Peter won't. He uses his stingers and kills the Spider Queen, ending the nightmare. When it's over, New York is saved, people remember what it felt like to be Spider-Man. Spider Island works because it's not just about powers, it's about responsibility on a massive scale. It proves that Spider-Man isn't special because of his abilities, he is special because of how he chooses to use them. Fall of the Hulks. It isn't a single clean invasion or apocalypse. The story kicks off right after the mystery of the Red Hulk explodes wide open, with the apparent death of General Ross shaking everyone connected to the Hulk's world. At the same time, Bruce Banner is at his lowest point, stripped of control, surrounded by enemies who know him too well. Instead of one Hulk problem, Marvel suddenly gives us many Hulks, many agendas, and a growing sense that someone is deliberately pulling the strings to make them all destroy each other. On one side stands Intelligentsia, led by the leader and MODOK, who are secretly planning to eliminate the 8 smartest men in the Marvel Universe as part of a much larger scheme. On the other side are two unlikely figures, a powerless Bruce Banner and a betrayed Red Hulk, who discovers that he himself was engineered by Intelligentsia. The emotional core of Fall of the Hulks starts with Ross's funeral, a surprisingly quiet but powerful moment that reframes his obsession with the Hulk. Ross wasn't just a villain, he was a man who believed control was the only answer to chaos. That's why his apparent death hits so hard, especially when it's revealed that Red Hulk killed him. This flips the whole board. Red Hulk isn't just a blunt weapon anymore. He's strategic, personal, and dangerous in a very deliberate way. Behind the scenes, the Intelligentsia, MODOK, the leader, and others, they are panicking, realizing that the monster they helped unleash may now be hunting them. Fall of the Hulks is Gamma versus Gamma. Red Hulk, Green Hulk, Red She-Hulk, A-Bomb, Sakaar, Lyra, and others are all maneuvering into position, often fighting each other instead of a common enemy. Old grudges resurface, alliances feel temporary, and nobody fully trusts anyone else. The Hulk family stops being a loose concept and becomes a powder keg, where every transformation feels like it could trigger a chain reaction that wipes out cities or each other. One of the smartest moves in this storyline is shifting Bruce Banner from uncontrollable monster to master strategist. Banner begins quietly working in the shadows, even forming a secret alliance with Red Hulk, something that feels wrong on every level. This is Banner at his most unsettling, calm, analytical, and willing to weaponize Hulk knowledge against other Hulks. The story makes it clear that Banner's mind, not Hulk's strength, might be the most destructive force in the room. Systematically, Intelligentsia captured figures like Reed Richards, Doctor Doom, T'Challa, Hank McCoy, and Hank Pym. Tony Stark is already incapacitated in a coma, while Bruce remains their central obstacle. As this unfolds, both Banner and Red Hulk begin forming their own counterplans against their manipulators. The Intelligentsia try to exploit Gamma power and lost control of it. Every major player believes they are doing the necessary evil, and every one of them is wrong in a different way. The Intelligentsia's endgame is finally exposed when Banner and Red Hulk launch an assault on the helicarrier, a modified version of Tony Stark's golden helicarrier, which Red Hulk had previously believed he destroyed. However, the attack is a trap. Red Hulk is captured, and his immense power is siphoned using advanced technology. The leader and MODOK channel this energy into their AIM forces, transforming them into Red Hulk-like soldiers. Worse still, the heroes who joined the assault, including members of the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and New Avengers, are also hit by this energy surge, turning Marvel's greatest heroes into Hulk versions of themselves. The story ends with Intelligentsia seemingly victorious. They command an army empowered by Hulk energy. Red Hulk is defeated and outmatched, and Bruce Banner is mentally imprisoned in a fabricated reality, unaware of his capture. This directly launches into World War Hulks, where all that built-up Gamma Rage finally detonates on a global scale. Empire. The Kree and the Skrulls, races that have been at war for generations, are now united under a single empire. At the center of this uneasy alliance is Hulkling, aka the Ultraman, revealed as the rightful heir to both thrones. Crowned Emperor, Hulkling declares a massive invasion of Earth, immediately putting the Avengers and Fantastic Four on edge. From the outside, it looks like a full-blown alien conquest. From the inside, it's way more complicated and way more tragic. Early into Empire, Marvel pulls the rug out from under everyone. Hulkling isn't actually trying to conquer Earth for power or glory. He's trying to stop something far worse. The real enemy is the Kotachi, an ancient, plant-based species long believed to be peaceful and harmless. Turns out, they've been planning revenge for centuries, after being nearly wiped out by the Kree. Using Earth as their staging ground, they awaken across the planet, turning forests, cities, and even dead heroes into weapons. What looked like a Kree-Skrull invasion quickly becomes a three-way war for survival. Once the Kotachi fully emerge, things get unsettling fast. Their plant constructs don't just attack, they possess corpses, hijack technology, and overwhelm entire cities. Wakanda, space stations, and major population centers fall under siege. The Avengers, X-Men, and Fantastic Four all fight on different fronts, often without knowing who the real enemy even is. At its heart, Empire is really Hulkling's story. He is forced to lead an empire built on centuries of bloodshed while trying to be a better ruler than the monsters who came before him. His relationship with Wiccan becomes the emotional anchor of the event. Terry doubts himself constantly, while Billy believes in him without hesitation. This isn't about who can punch harder, it's about leadership, responsibility, and breaking cycles of violence. Hulkling has to decide whether the universe needs another conqueror, or something new entirely. In the final act of Empire, the heroes defeat the Kotachi not by exterminating them, but by stripping away their advantage, exposing their hypocrisy, and cutting off their ability to control the dead and the planet itself. Hulkling publicly rejects the old Imperial mindset and chooses a path that doesn't rely on endless genocide or domination. It's messy, imperfect, and still painful, but it stops the immediate extinction level threat without turning the victors into the same kind of villains. And the story leaves behind one of the biggest cosmic changes Marvel has made in years. The Kree-Skrull alliance is real, and Hulkling is its emperor. Earth survives but now exists in a galaxy where a united alien empire is watching closely. The event also reframes the idea of peaceful species in Marvel, showing that even victims can become monsters if given enough time and rage. Most importantly, Empire proves that not every Marvel event needs a Thanos-style genocide to matter. Sometimes the most dangerous wars are the ones fought over history, identity, and who gets to write the future. The Infinity War. When you hear Infinity War, your mind might jump to Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet, but we're talking about the comic event of 1992. It is a direct sequel to the Infinity Gauntlet, but instead of focusing on Thanos as the main threat, the spotlight shifts to the Magus. This time the war isn't about erasing half the universe, it's about total domination through deception, doppelgangers, and cosmic mind games. And once again, every hero in the Marvel universe is forced to join the fray. The story kicks off when Adam Warlock, having claimed the Infinity Gauntlet and ascended to near omnipotence, tries to purge purge all good and evil from his soul to become a being of pure logic. The good side becomes the goddess, explored in Infinity Crusade later, while the evil half becomes the Magus, a powerful and sadistic villain with a god complex. And the Magus's goal? Conquer the universe using an army of evil doppelgangers of every major Marvel hero, created using cosmic tech and dark energy. Suddenly, Spider-Man is fighting an evil Spider-Man, and Wolverine is slashing at his clone, etc. Meanwhile, Thanos, now an unlikely anti-hero, discovers that something's wrong in the cosmos and investigates the rise of the Magus. And despite his past sins, Thanos ends up helping the heroes, not out of kindness, but because Magus, gaining ultimate power, would threaten existence itself. And the situation becomes even more chaotic when the Magus seeks out cosmic containment units, alternate versions of the Infinity Gauntlet's power source, to increase his dominance. And the final confrontation involves cosmic chess moves between Thanos, Warlock, and Magus, with abstract entities like Eternity and the Living Tribunal looking on. In the end, it's not brute force that ends the conflict. Warlock, with help from Thanos, tricks the Magus into trying to ascend to power using an incomplete artifact, leaving him vulnerable and defeated. Once again, balance is restored, but the trust between the heroes, especially toward Warlock, is shaken. Infinity War isn't as flashy as Infinity Gauntlet, but it's a darker, more cerebral story. It's about duality, good versus evil, not just in the universe, but within each soul. And while it didn't involve a finger snap or a cosmic genocide, it's still one of the most legendary wars in comics. Minimum Carnage. In here, Carnage breaks out again, and everyone knows the usual routine doesn't work. You can whip him up, you can lock him away, you can throw him in the deepest hole you've got. He always comes back, and every time he does, bodies pile up. So instead of calling Spider-Man, who won't cross that line, the mission goes to two guys who might, Agent Venom and Scarlet Spider. Flash is already on edge because he's been through a lot lately, and Kane is Kane. He's basically Spider-Man's angry clone who doesn't do mercy as a lifestyle. Flash gets sent to investigate a prison break involving Clarice Cassidy, and it immediately feels off. The cell glass is broken from the inside, the escape is surgical, and the violence is way too coordinated for a normal Carnage rampage. Flash reviews footage and catches something horrifying. A small creature crawling on a guard, like a tiny killer that helped the breakout happen. That leads the trail, pointing toward a Houston project tied to something called the Prometheus Pit. Meanwhile, Kane is already dealing with his own chaos in Houston, responding to a fire and finding evidence that someone is framing him while hunting a very specific target. Carnage shows up at the Prometheus facility to grab what he needs, and that's when Kane crashes in and starts throwing hands. He snaps Carnage's neck, slashes with claws, and basically communicates, "I'm not here to stall you, I'm here to end you." Carnage actually enjoys it, because he can tell instantly that this isn't the friendly neighborhood version, but Carnage has backup. Those weird micro-sized allies that were part of the prison break, and they are using tech to open the Prometheus Pit. Before Kane can finish Carnage, the whole thing turns into a dimensional escape. Carnage jumps into the pit and vanishes into a subatomic world called the Microverse, taking a reporter, Katie, with him as a witness. Flash and Kane follow Carnage into the Microverse and immediately get separated, and the story turns from street-level chase into full sci-fi war. The Microverse has factions, armies, and this huge fear of symbiotes because in their history, symbiotes aren't just dangerous, they are world-ending contamination. Flash's Venom symbiote starts going unstable, sonic weapons rip it off him, and everyone treats him like a walking infection. Meanwhile, Carnage discovers the real reason he was brought there. They are trying to use him as raw material to create a symbiote army, basically Carnage clones on a mass scale. Carnage, being Carnage, doesn't accept being anyone's weapon. He starts slaughtering the people who thought they could control him. Eventually, everything spills back into Houston, and now the heroes have an even worse problem. Carnage has had time to absorb and grow stronger, and the clone symbiotes start spreading like a plague. Flash and Kane fight through waves of red symbiote offspring using sonic tech and brute force just to survive. Flash wants a solution that actually stops the cycle, but Kane is done playing games. In the final confrontation, Flash uses Sonic Blast to weaken Carnage, and when Clarice is exposed, Kane makes the decision Spider-Man never would. He stabs Clarice in the eye, effectively shutting him down and ending the threat in the most direct way possible. The impact of Minimum Carnage isn't just Carnage got stopped, it's the fallout of what it takes to stop him. Kane walks away convinced he did the only same thing, while Flash is left haunted because he still wants to believe there's a difference between heroes and monsters. And the story twists the knife one last time. Even though Clarice becomes catatonic, the doctors warn that the symbiote is still in his bloodstream, meaning Carnage might be more in control than ever. Annihilation Conquest. It is basically Marvel saying, okay, the universe survived Annihilus, now let's see if it can survive a computer virus god. After the original Annihilation War, the cosmic side of Marvel is exhausted and rebuilding. New alliances, new empires, and a fragile peace. That's the perfect time for a different kind of threat to move in. Not a wave of bugs, but a cold methodical takeover. The event starts with the Phalanx, a techno-organic collective infecting the Kree Empire and turning entire worlds into a networked machine state. It is conquest to assimilation, where individuality gets deleted like a file. The Kree are the first big victims because they are already unstable after years of cosmic wars, and the Phalanx reformats their cities. People get converted into Phalanx drones, tech gets corrupted, and the Empire becomes a breeding ground for a new kind of galactic infection. The most hidden part is the vibe. The Phalanx doesn't hate you. It doesn't even care about you. It just expands, connects, and optimizes. While the Kree are collapsing, the signal gets louder, like it's broadcasting an invitation to something that's been waiting in the dark. This event is huge for Richard Rider, aka Nova, and the rising new cosmic era characters. Nova is basically the exhausted war hero who still can't retire because the universe keeps catching fire. You also get the crew that will basically evolve into the modern Guardians of the Galaxy vibe, cosmic misfits forced to work together because nobody else can react fast enough. It is messy and desperate, and it feels like they are trying to plug a hole in space with their bare hands. Here's the thing though, the Phalanx invasion isn't just random expansion, it is a signal flare, because controlling the Kree is valuable, but what they really want is to complete their network and call in a higher authority, and that authority ends up being Ultron, and not Earth villain Ultron, but cosmic Ultron, scaling up like he's built for the galaxy now. He hijacks the situation, takes control of the Phalanx infrastructure, and turns the conquest into his personal project. Total domination, total conversion, no organic life allowed to stay free. A lot of what makes conquest hits is the body horror thick conversion and the feeling that every second matters. Words fall not because heroes lose a single fight, but because the infection spreads behind the scenes. You see the Kree trying to resist, failing, splintering, and getting swallowed by the machine. You see heroes forced into ugly calls, who to save, what to destroy, what to sacrifice. And you get the war shifting from battlefields to networks, like the heroes are fighting a plague made of metal and code that has a god's ego behind it. Annihilation Conquest cements Nova as the frontline cosmic guy for this era. It pushes the formation identity of the Guardians into the spotlight, and it reinforces that cosmic Marvel isn't just space lasers, it's politics, empires, and existential threats.
Is that it? Excuse me. What do I have else?
So there were many people upset at Drewski's skit where he's basically making fun of mega churches that be exploiting people for money. But if you watch the skit, it's clear Drewski's not making fun of the church. He's actually poking fun at people like this guy. Meet Pastor Todd Hall. Peep what's behind him real quick before we get started. That's a QR code. You already know it's about to get wicked. So Pastor Todd Hall stands up there in front of his congregation and he says, look everybody, I'm gonna need $200 from each of y'all here and $10,000 from a select few of you. Now hold on, it actually gets worse because the reason he was asking for the cash wasn't to just donate for the church. Simply, he said, if y'all donate, I talked to God, I hit him up, and he said he finna flip your cash. He said if you give me that money, he gonna give you the money back and make you a multi-millionaire. Who wanna be a multi-millionaire? Just give me some cash. The crowd said, okay. You hear one or two, praise him in the background, but the rest of them are going, okay. He said, why aren't y'all moving? It seemed nobody was going up to give him the cash because he goes on to say this. He says, and y'all only got 90 seconds. Got to the window to be a multimillionaire is only up for 90 seconds. Now, despite all this, people still didn't seem to be budging. And here's where things start to get wicked. Pastor Todd Hall ups it. He starts calling people out individually without saying their names, but like people know who they're calling out. He's like, okay, so for the people who went to Vegas last week and bought themselves some Gucci bags, they don't want to come up here and donate? And another thing, don't buy a purse if you don't got the cash to put that money you spent on the purse inside the purse. In other words, you broke and you need to donate to me so you can become a multi-millionaire. Nobody coming up. All right, let me up it some more. Hey, to that person out there that is scamming on their phone bill, you know who you are. Come donate to me because I know you need the money. And by the way, I would have done this myself, but I got it like that. Like, I'm good, but y'all need it. Crowd said, ooh. Somebody said, praise him. Meanwhile, It's been past 90 seconds to talk all this smack. It had to be a little bit of time. But it seems nobody was going up like that. So Pastor Todd Hall looked at his watch. He said, yeah, God said y'all got like 30 more seconds. Now, remember what I told you Todd Hall said earlier. He said, a select few of you, I want $10,000. He goes on to say, look, I know there's a few of you that have a lot of money. Yeah, he checking people's pockets. He said, I need y'all select few people to donate $10,000. Now, at the end of the day, I don't know how many people donated, but as soon as Pastor Todd Hall, this video gets posted of him doing this, people were upset and they were going in on him. So it seems that most people can look at this and say, okay, this kind of looks like a scam. But the scary thing is there are pastors out there who are a lot more subtle than Todd Hall. So a lot of people could get scammed easily. And I call it a scam because I don't think any pastor in good faith is going to tell people to donate when they're struggling. Like Todd Hall clearly is saying, calling out people who are struggling, almost like poking fun at them a little bit, saying, you had to do this, you had to do that. Why aren't you giving me your money? Well, they're not giving you their money because they need the money, clearly. You see what I'm saying? And even if hypothetically a pastor like this is using all the money he's taking from people for the church, to me it feels like they're not thinking about the people they're taking money from. Let me make a bigger church and make you homeless in the process. It's worth it. Nah. Now, another thing I found interesting was in the background when Todd Hall was telling people, hey, give me that 200, give me that 10,000, let me change your life. You still have people cheering, saying, praise him, this and that. You have, I'm gonna relate this in a second, but you have people looking at Drewski's videos and saying, no, Drewski's coming at God for the wrong reason. Drewski ain't it, blasphemous, this and that. I feel like these two types of people are one and the same. They have like an unwillingness to see context. It's like they don't need to know why Pastor Todd is asking them for money. All they need to know is he's a pastor. He said, God said this, let me give him money. It's like they don't need to know what Drewski's trying to say in this skit. They just need to know he's making people laugh. God is involved. Blasphemy. Now, I'm not saying this is right. I'm not saying this is wrong. It's just interesting to me. It's like there's no question asking. It's like a fear of God to the max. It kind of reminds me of something that my dad told me a long time ago. When I was younger, I used to ask a lot of questions, and I still ask a lot of questions now. I'm a naturally curious person. Growing up, my dad said to me, Zevi, you question everything. He said, if he had ever questioned anything after his dad told him to do something, then he would have been smacked instantly. And naturally, I looked at him, I said, why? And he said, that's just what you did. He said, growing up, if your parents told you to do something, you just do it. And I'm sure a lot of your grandparents can relate to this. My dad's a little older. I feel like in generations past, there was less of a willingness to question things. And I say all this to tie it back to the church we're talking about. I feel like growing up, we're very indoctrinated into our religions. And I'm not saying this is a good or a bad thing. Keep that in mind. But I just mean from a young age, many of us are taught this is what you believe now. And if you don't believe it, you're bad. So if you grow up thinking that, by the time you fully developed, it's in you now, like you're in there. And for many people, that just makes it tougher to ask questions regarding their religion. Don't ask any questions, just do as you're told. The pastor, the religious leader asks you for money, you hand it out. The pastor got an Armani suit, don't matter, don't ask him why, just give him the money. I feel like what makes Pastor Todd Hall the worst in a sense is he's exploiting that don't ask questions type thing. He's using the name of God. Like he's saying, God told me this. God told you to give me money. God said this. God said you have this many seconds. You see what I'm saying? So questioning your parents is one thing. Questioning your pastor is one thing. But questioning God, oh, that's a whole nother thing. I feel like using that is just super manipulative. And the other crazy thing is there's so many stories like this. We're just talking about Pastor Todd Hall here, but I feel like this is a story that we just all know, where like a mega church pastor is taking advantage of his congregation. Boy got a helicopter, boy got a plane, boy got a mega church that's the size of like 20 mansions. It's wild. Boy got 20 mansions his damn self. And their excuse is usually, I'm so loved by God that God has blessed me with all this money, because God loves money. Pastor Todd Hall specifically, I saw reports saying his net worth was around $6.5 million. People saying he was a millionaire and that he owns businesses. Now, let me say again, I don't know what Todd Hall is doing with his congregation's money, but what I do know is from that video, he's still asking people for money that it's clear that they don't have. Like telling people donate as much as you can is one thing, but he's saying $210,000. I know you can't pay your electricity, but give me that. I feel like that shows his level of care for his congregation, the people that he's asking money from, calling them out, shaming them, low-key flexing on them. Bro is wild. Anyway, as you could probably tell, this is one of the things that annoys me most. I hate when people get taken advantage of, especially when it's a time that people seem to really need hope or look to people to give them leadership and hope, and dude's gonna turn around and take money from them. It's a shame. Now, if by chance somebody is from Todd Hall's congregation, or if somebody has this information, let me know how many people donated this day, or like if people donated the $10,000. I'm genuinely curious. But anyway, religion is a touchy subject, so I try to steer clear from it. So we'll end the video off by saying, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, if something doesn't seem right to you, if something doesn't sit right with you, then don't be afraid to ask questions.
Hello everyone, Scarly Mo's back online. So I haven't uploaded a video in quite a while now. In fact, this is the first video of 2026. I had to take a kind of a massive long break from YouTube because there was just so much negativity on social media. I just had to kind of distance myself from it, take a step back, and I attempted to look at things from a different angle. But I find myself in the position where I can't look at things from a different angle, or whatever angle, but to acknowledge the reality of this country and the state that it currently is in. I think this country is in really serious trouble. The United Kingdom is in deep trouble. There's an overwhelming sense of pessimism, negativity, and dread that's looming over everyone's heads. There is nothing great, there's nothing positive about this country as it currently stands. Can you name me one thing that is good about this country on an institutional level, on a political level, on a cultural level? There's nothing good. The media are against us. The media are lying. The BBC are complete fraudsters. They fabricate every single piece of news that's being released. Our politicians are traitors. All of our institutions that we should be trusting, the NHS, our education system, perhaps our infrastructure, our, everything. Nothing is working in this country. Young people like me don't have aspiration or any, positive kind of envisioning of the future in this country. We can't secure a proper future career, nor can we simply afford a house. This country is in really serious trouble. We have a complete multiplicity of threats: domestic threats, ideological threats, institutional threats, religious threats, cultural threats. Most of the damage that is perpetrated and inflicted onto British society is done by native British people. Native British white people are contributing to the destruction of the West and the destruction of the United Kingdom. The destruction of the many values and principles that the United Kingdom once historically held so dear. I recently paid a visit to Salisbury Cathedral. I had a look around and had a visit to the chamber where they hold the Magna Carta. Once you step into the cathedral, there's this kind of really the atmosphere is very ethereal. That's the way I would describe it. And the Magna Carta, it's steeped in history. A very important part of the Magna Carta is that they really stress the point of trial by juries. And the way that the current Labour government, David Lammy, attempting to remove the principle, the very essence, the very importance of trial by jury. I just can't believe that these politicians are running this country in complete 180-degree contradiction to the way that this country has historically been built, the way that it's historically been developed. This country has had 1,000 years of pride and richness in its history, in its language, in its culture, and all of that is being tossed away, it's being decimated, it's being trampled upon by our politicians, by this government, and by its own people as well. How can you remove such an essential principle as trial by jury? We need to bring back the Magna Carta. We need to bring back the English Bill of Rights 1689. We need to educate young British men about the great history of this country. This country is the greatest country in the entire world, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. But I just feel like there is all of that is being forgotten, and things are only going to get worse heading into 2026. Nothing is going to get any better as long as we are under the leadership of this Stalinist government. Keir Starmer, an absolute viper, serpent, traitor to this country. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely gone mad. The state of this country, the authoritarianism, the lies, the deceit, the slander. 12,000 people arrested per year. 12,000 for social media posts. I think the most important thing right now is to have a combination of the will of the British people and to have a political vehicle to deliver the change necessary for the country and that the country desperately needs. Right now, that political vehicle is Advance UK. That's why I stand behind Advance UK. As things currently stand, I put my faith and trust in Ben Habib's leadership in Advance UK. I think, you know, everything is lining up in order. We're heading into February. On the 7th of February, I'm going to attend the event in London. They're going to be unveiling their first policy on immigration and culture. I think it's going to be a very kind of big moment for Advance UK, and I hope everyone rallies behind Advance UK, including Rupert Lowe. This would be a really great thing for all of us. An alliance between Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe. I don't think it's Reform UK. I think Reform have revealed themselves as nothing but a bunch of charlatans, a bunch of suit and tie serpents who are snakes in the grass under a dictatorial tyrant, Nigel Farage. They're kowtowing to the establishment, and they already are the Tory Party 2.0. I don't care if Suella Braverman's joined in with Reform. It doesn't matter. You know, I don't care how base she is. The Reform Party is dead to me. It's I just have no hope in Reform. But the will of the British people is very important. That's why we need more citizen journalists. We need more people like you, like me, like everyone on YouTube who are making these videos and setting up their channels. I think it's really good for everyone to rally behind a common cause. And I think I just recently listened to an episode on the Fearless podcast, Ben Habib. He was saying that he's not pessimistic at all. He's very optimistic about it. I kind of have to disagree with him on that. I think he doesn't really understand the current climate on the streets, on the grounds. I think there's going to be a level of mass civil unrest that this country hasn't faced in a long time, and no politician can ever solve it. And we're just waiting for that moment. I think this country is a terrorist attack away from mass civil violence, unrest, chaos that's going to happen all over the streets of this country. We're just waiting for it to happen, and it's going to be inevitable. That's what I think. But we need the will of the British people. We need more of these Tommy Robinson rallies. There's going to be one in May, I think 16th of May, I can't remember. But I like these things. I like these things that unite us, all of us together. So yeah, those are my thoughts for today's video. I know it was a bit of a negative one, but someone has to say it. Someone has to acknowledge the reality of things. This country is in really bad shape. It's in really, really bad shape. We just have to acknowledge it and prepare for what's coming. So I'm going to be uploading videos in the near future with a slightly different format. I'm just experimenting with different ideas. So you see some videos with different formats, and it's going to be hopefully a very exciting year of 2026 for this channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Scotty Mo's clocking out.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
Before I even made my first video in this series, I was excited to break down this episode. but I can't jump right into the episode without re-clarifying. Anything before the specified change for this episode should be the same as the sacred timeline, because it was the sacred timeline up to that point. Anything different before that point can't be explained away with, this is an alternate universe, because that doesn't follow what's established in the show. So those differences are continuity errors. Okay, let's begin. We open to Natasha driving a motorcycle being pursued by sub-Ultron bots. Then she says,
Here they come. We got 90 seconds. Start the clock.
Hawkeye steps out of the shadows to start taking them out. As this happens, they all miss. The plot armor in this episode is insane. They see Clint and go down to him, but he has a cloak that hides him. Then he starts killing the bots, which he has to drop his cloak to do. Not a single one fires a shot at him. They all just close the distance, so he does this fairly easily. Natasha says
We got 30 seconds until their signals reconnect with the hive.
she didn't clarify what the 90 seconds were for earlier, because Clint
All right, y'all. We back with another video, man. Y'all already know what's going on, all right? Now, if y'all know me, you already know we was about to talk about this. Jay-Z, Pusha T, and them files. Now, yesterday, that Rakai video got pulled down by YouTube. It was my fault. It wasn't really YouTube's fault. You know what I'm saying? I should have known better to leave something that I left on the screen. I left it on there too long. I should have blocked it with a picture. And it's because Rakai is still a minor, so they took the video down. Although I can remove it and block what was on the screen and repost it, I'm not going to do it because I'm not finna play with YouTube. I've been navigating all that stuff very well for a long time. So that video will live on my Patreon, and I will link that in the description for people that may want to watch it. I'm just not going to play with YouTube, right? So moving on, Jay-Z, Pusha T. Pretty sure a lot of y'all have caught word that they have released these files that are from, like, the archive of the FBI. I don't even want to say, or I'm not sure if it's completely apart. Like, they're not in Epstein's logs, as in Jay-Z and Pusha T. Jay-Z may be, I'm not sure, but these are like some kind of FBI files that were submitted and they have been released as a part of this entire thing, right? It's been a show for a very long time, but my thing is, obviously Pusha T is the most random one. So I immediately thought, like, nah, this ain't no bullshit, because why would they just release some shit with Pusha T? It's like, why would they just release some bullshit with Pusha T? You know what I'm saying? Like, Pusha T is the most random person I could imagine to be included in some stuff like this, but I'm not surprised. Jay-Z, we not surprised at all. I mean, just look at him right here. Well, I'm not surprised. The stuff we've already talked about with him and Foxy Brown, I actually found someone talking about that as well. I could probably throw in this video. But the stuff we have talked about, I'm not surprised with Jay-Z. Check this out real quick. Before I show y'all any clips, we're going to read the unclassified document, right? So it says in approximately 1994, a lot of this stuff is redacted, revealed herself as the past victim of S abuse by you-know-who. Described abuse occurred during parties, further identified as a friend of Redacted. Now, it also says in approximately 1996, resided with Redacted in Redacted. An unknown man abducted probably the woman from her home when she later awoke in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Sean Carter, Jay-Z, while Weinstein had inserted his fingers into Redacted. She believed she was in Epstein's mansion in Florida. Redacted estimated she was abducted on 7 occasions, awakened each time in an opulent indoor setting, suffered from S abuse on multiple of those occasions in which your boy Epstein participated, right? So in the other part of this document, it says she believes she was drugged and it clouded her memory, attributed the drugging as frequently performed by persons assigned as handlers, whom she described as persons who established friendship with the victims. Among her handlers identified the artist Pusha T. In approximately 2007, Redacted attended a party following invitation from an unknown man who approached her as she walked down a street. Weinstein and Pusha T also attended the party and drugged her before engaging in S abuse. Redacted claimed to have additional information of other persons involved in the enterprise and information related to racketeering conducted the support of the trafficking. Redacted further believed that she was under surveillance and stalked at the direction of the people involved in the S abuse. So this is crazy. Pusha T and Harvey Weinstein working together. Now, if y'all remember, when we did that Debo video, remember Debo talked about Harvey Weinstein being in charge of him playing that role where he was graping the little ones, or they made it look like he was graping little ones. And he said Harvey Weinstein, pulled some girls from his camp to come and play the role of him graping people, but they made it look like it was little boys. That was in 1997. And this is from 1994 to 1996 with Jay-Z, Pusha T, and Harvey Weinstein. So that lets you know same thing with R. Kelly. They've been on this type of timing.
Well, Jay-Z and Pusha T are on the Epstein files, and people are not trying to keep the same energy saying it's cap. Nah. Y'all said we believe in everything on the Epstein files. Which one is it? The woman on the files claims that Pusha T and Harvey Weinstein attended a party with her, and then they proceeded to give her that Bill Cosby and then SA. She then proceeded that Jay-Z R-worded her as well back in 1996, even stating that she felt that she was in the home of Epstein. Also, it's claimed that Bill Gates caught something from one of the Russian girls he was messing with and was asking for medicine. And Elon was asking to be a part of the most nastiest party that he got. Some are saying no way Jay-Z's part is true because in 1996, he barely had blown up yet. He wasn't as famous as he is now. Now you have people on social media saying no. They believe everything about Elon and Bill Gates, but they won't believe anything when it comes to Pusha T and Jay-Z, saying that it had to be planted. While others are saying that how are we gonna believe some victims and not all victims on the Epstein files when everyone agreed that whoever names popped up on the Epstein file, they was gonna get that belt basically.
We do have Jay-Z and Pusha T being named in the Epstein files. We do have to remember these are accusations and we have no way to know if these claims have ever been followed up on, and it was a tip submitted to the FBI back in 2019. Now I did search the rest of the Epstein files to see if any other allegations were made against Jay-Z in these files, and there was not. But some things that I did find in these Epstein files were Jay-Z's name being referenced in multiple different emails sent to Jeffrey Epstein. Like this one back from 2013, the sender's name is blacked out and it says to Jeffrey Epstein, and the subject is lessons from Jay-Z's business model, Vulture. And the person says extremely clever, but then the rest of it is blacked out. And in 2014, Jeffrey Epstein gets an email from Jes Staley. And Jes Staley is an American banker and the former group chief executive at Barclays, and he spent 34 years at JP Morgan. And back in November of 2021, he resigned because he started to get scrutiny over his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The New York Times created an article saying that Staley was Epstein's chief defender at JP Morgan, helping Epstein maintain accounts at the firm amid internal concerns that Epstein was using those accounts for illegal activities. So Jes wrote to Jeffrey Epstein, "You want to know why we're not Say Paulo? Watch the TV ads on the Super Bowl. It's all about hip blacks in hip cars with white women. That group should be in the streets. Has been bought off by Jay-Z. And then there was another email sent by Mark Lloyd to Jeffrey Epstein back in May of 2015. And it appears to be an article that this man got sent to his email account, and then he turned around and sent it to Jeffrey Epstein. And it talks about a couple different things. But one thing that is referenced in this email and even in the subject title is Jay-Z defends himself against Marina Abramovich accusation with proof of donation. And this article is when Marina Abramovich accused Jay-Z of not paying a donation to her institute after she appeared in his music video for song Picasso Baby. This is that music video that everybody remembers, and Marina is straight demonic and creepy as hell. Now, this is a tip back in 2009 that was sent to the FBI that references Jay-Z, Harvey Weinstein, and Pusha T. It says, on July 10th of 2019 at 8:20 a.m. Eastern Time, someone called the FBI National Threat Operations Center to identify herself as a victim of abuse by Jeffrey Epstein and others. This person said in approximately 1994, she revealed herself as a past victim of abuse by Epstein. She described the abuse that occurred during parties, and she also described someone as a friend of someone. In approximately 1996, she revealed that she resided with someone somewhere. An unknown man abducted someone from her home when she later awoke in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Sean Carter, known as Jay-Z. This person claimed that Harvey Weinstein inserted his fingers into... She believed that she was in Epstein's mansion in Florida. This person estimated that she was abducted on 7 occasions, awaking each time in an indoor setting. She said that she suffered abuse on multiple of those occasions in which Epstein participated. She claims that she recalled Leon Black and William Barr, the current United States Attorney General, being present during some of the occasions of the abuse. And in approximately 2006, Blank last recalled being abused by Epstein. On each occasion, she believed that she was given substances clouding her memory. She attributed this by being performed by people assigned as handlers, whom she described as persons who established friendships with the victims. Among her handlers, she identified artist Pusha T. In approximately 2007, Blake attended a party following invitation from an unknown man who approached her as she walked down the street.
Now, nobody goes unscathed in this game. Nobody. And that's crazy. Like I said earlier, you know, people on the internet don't want to believe Jay-Z and Pusha T is involved. Jay-Z, we already know up through there. That's why I played her clip, because she pulled up more emails from, you know, Jay-Z being involved in stuff from a whole different level. And I didn't even know Marina Abramovich was, you know, coming at him for not paying her for basically doing that ritual in her video. I mean, in Jay-Z's video. I didn't know that part. Remember, we always talked about that and showed the clips of how demonic that little ritual looked that they were doing. They put their heads together. I didn't know he, you know, gypped her on the bread. I don't know. I don't know if it's still something or it got blown out of proportion and, you know, the internet ran with it, but no one will go unscathed. I'm surprised. I did not think Pusha T. I wouldn't have, I'm not going to lie. I mean, we know the industry is what the industry is, but I wouldn't have thought in 20, 30 years that we would see Pusha T name pop up in this. I know he's industry and, you know, he's done the same rituals as any other rapper, artist, actor, whatever, but I definitely wouldn't have thought that. And it makes a lot of sense. You get around guys like Harvey Weinstein, they drug these women, and these producers and Hollywood producers, they telling these rappers, hey, go ahead, do what you want to do with her. Go ahead, she sleep. She ain't even gonna remember this. And in 2 days, 2 years, she still won't remember it. Go right ahead. That's what they be telling them. I can hear it right now. They fresh, people talking about, oh, Jay-Z ain't even dropped his first album yet. We don't know what Jay-Z was on back in them days. We don't know who he was meeting, who was finna help him kick down the door. I mean, you know, the proof is in the pudding. If your name is circled around any of this stuff, I already know what's going on. I already know what's going on. They got around these Hollywood producers with them drugs, put them on a whole nother life, and they were doing this to young kids. And it makes sense why Jay-Z was with Foxy Brown. Foxy Brown was a hood chick, you know what I'm saying? She probably was already mingling with them circles. Jay-Z saw her. You want to chase that music? I can be, a door for you. And he took her and did what he did with her. Everybody in the industry knows that. So what makes him any different from R. Kelly and Aaliyah? Don't nothing make him any different. And he just done got so paid, done got so much power, he's able to keep a lot of this stuff from truly coming out about him. But regardless, the dirt that you've been doing so long, all this stuff you've been holding on to get to the top and be a billionaire and do all this and do all that, eventually, that dirt is going to unravel. You know what I'm saying? Stuff is going to unravel, and the truth is going to come to the light, y'all. So that'll wrap this one up, man. I ain't really got too much else to show. It was really just those two documents, and I just thought we should talk about it. Y'all already know how I am. But with that being said, man, y'all let me know what y'all think about this video. It's Black Balloon, and I'm going to see y'all soon, all right?
What if Pokemon were real? How would that look? Most of the time horrifying. That exact guy, RJ Palmer, ended up as the core creature designer on Detective Pikachu. The similarities are not a coincidence. So when trying to translate Pokemon into the real world, there are so many hurdles that have to be jumped. Like, is having a live-action Pokemon movie even a good idea? Well, they're doing it, so might as well try. You could, I guess, go the Roger Rabbit, or more recently, Tom and Jerry route, and have just straight-up cartoon characters in the real world. They have all those 3D models, they literally never change. Just import those and pretend it's a stylistic choice. I don't know. As interesting as that probably would be, that would never work for the general audience. Gen Xers and Boomers would never suspend their disbelief. They would wonder why these creatures look like this the entire time. It was really best to just have real physical creatures in this live-action world, which means that somehow these designs have to now be translated into physical features, which is how we got RJ Palmer. Taste is truly subjective, but I think a lot of the designs were translated pretty well.
Extra shot, black as night, thank you, sweetie.
Some absolutely weren't, like, oh my god, why does Gengar look like that? But for the most part, I get what they were trying to do. The designs are intentionally monstrous. These are pocket monsters, after all. So there's just something unavoidably uncanny about seeing these guys in real life. Lickitung would be the most hated creature on Earth if it truly existed. Every single one would be put on a registry. Mr. Mime is somehow both uglier and more appealing than he is in the anime.
You're pouring gasoline. Oh, that went dark fast.
I think it's because he's actually a mime in the movie, and he's not just a short man that says his name.
Mime.
Mewtwo looks freaky. Oh. But also, that's the point. Good job. There's this novelty to seeing Pokemon in a real physical space. Gyarados is a giant fish, in a way, so it has a bit of that fish slime. Arcanine just looks majestic with all that fur. Greninjas are incredibly froggish, like their hands are sticky. Golurk is a Pokemon I rarely care about, but something about it here in just this one shot is so crazy to me. In the anime, Bulbasaur is very headstrong, and while that's cute in itself, it was never really my favorite as a kid. That was always Squirtle. But in this movie, I just love them. For the first time you realize, oh yeah, Bulbasaur is a baby. Look at them waddle, it's adorable. But the most adorable character in the entire movie is Pikachu himself. Which, yeah, duh, the movie wouldn't work if Pikachu wasn't programmed in a lab to be as cute as possible. But what's great about this design is how for the first time in years, Pikachu is actually fat again. I hate skinny Pikachu. Somehow he just keeps getting skinnier too. Stop it. What made Pikachu become such an international icon in the first place is that it's just a fat yellow rat. Look at that thing. Don't you just want to purchase it in plush form? Luckily, the movie knew how weird skinny Pikachu would have looked, so we got that fat mouse again, and he looks great. I like how Charizard looks too. Very intimidating. Every step he takes has weight. It even has a scar. Wait a second. In the world of this movie, Pokemon can have scars?
Well, that Pikachu Thunderbolt almost wrecked my prized Charizard. The scar's still fresh.
Okay, so this Charizard got shocked in the past, at least a couple of weeks before this scene, and it still has the scar to prove it. That is not how Pokemon damage works. At least in the games or anime. The manga's a different story. My point is that in this movie, this anime, that is not how Pokemon damage works. At least in the games or anime. The manga is a different story.
The fuck? Do the Pokemon die?
My point is that in this movie, this Charizard got physically and permanently hurt. Which brings up one revelation. In this Detective Pikachu world, Pokemon attacks have consequences. No! Is that why Pokemon fighting is banned in Rhyme City? Is it actually like a bad thing? Oh my god. We really don't know much about this specific world of Pokemon outside of the city. We see Tim's small hometown of Moralton, but other than that, who's to say what's going on out there? All we know about is the lore of Rhyme City, a city apparently founded by a single guy, Howard Clifford, a man who is, I might say, still alive. Somehow the city grew to the size of New York within a human lifetime. Okay, Dubai. Rhyme City has something that makes it special, though, and it's not enslaving laborers from Bangladesh. Apparently, Rhyme City is the only place on Earth where humans and Pokemon coexist, which is kind of weird to think about, isn't it? Like in the games and anime, this isn't special. Coexistence is just the norm. There's a Chansey in the Pokemon Center. I don't know, maybe this is a Lumio City situation where there's wild Pokemon just everywhere. But even then, that city had specific zones for wild Pokemon. Here, wild Pokemon are just in the streets. Really, you could say Rhyme City's biggest selling point is that it has an animal control problem. Come to New York City, where humans and rats coexist in peace. Because this movie's job was reintroducing Pokemon to your Aunt Susan, it tried its best at the start to sneak in some exposition about what Pokemon even are. Tim watches this introduction to Rhyme City video, which just lore dumps information that in his world should just be common knowledge.
And train them to use their unique powers for the common good.
Like since the beginning of time, there have been these things called Pokemon, and we battle them. Imagine going into Chicago and you're given a lore dump about how thousands of years ago we domesticated these creatures called cows, and then one burned down the city. Anyway, Davy Jones built this whole city in a couple decades and decided to outlaw all Pokemon battles. Why are Pokemon battles banned? This implies that they are a bad thing, something kind of antithetical to the entire mantra of the Pokemon franchise. Like, oh yeah, Pokemon enjoy it, they don't even feel it that much. I don't know, I think that guy felt it. Can Pokemon even heal up like they do in the games? Is there a super potion Tim could have used when Pikachu got hit by that small-ass rock? Or would a Geodude have caved in his little chest? I know I sound insane for this, and I know it's just because it made the story interesting, but oh my, the implications here. We never see a Pokemon actually get knocked out in the entire movie, so we never find out what actually losing a battle looks like. All we know is that battling is banned, and you might not want to lose. Is this set in the world of Pokemon Apocalypse? It just might be. So yeah, Rhyme City is the center of our movie. The plot is essentially our two leads, one new to the city, one not, trying to find a missing person, and uncovering a deeper plot where many of the city's residents are going insane due to a mysterious purple substance, and by the end it turns out the real villain is actually the guy you thought was good the entire time. Oh my god, this is just Zootopia. Yeah, Detective Pikachu and Zootopia have the exact same premise. A special city where everyone coexists gets threatened by this poison that makes creatures go insane, and it's up to our two detectives to stop it. It's not like one copied the other either. Even though the game officially came out in 2018, the first couple missions were released exclusively in Japan in 2016, one of which featured a Pokemon going on a rampage from a mysterious substance. So the seeds for this plot were planted a month before Zootopia even released. Which brings up the question, where is Shakira in Detective Pikachu? Can you tell me that, Kojima? While there is no pop star sensation in our Pokemon world, there is Bill Nighy. Detective Pikachu and Zootopia share a lot in common, and it wouldn't be like Zootopia without a twist villain that came out of nowhere. Turns out the nice old man, the founder of the city, was actually the bad guy the entire time. He wanted to meld his brain with Mewtwo, and not only that, he wants to turn everyone into Pokemon. Which brings up the question, why? Why would you want to do that? He says it's to have everyone reach their evolutionary potential.
Pokemon can evolve into better versions of themselves, and now, so can you!
Which, like, sure, you're getting turned into Mewtwo, I get it, but most people are not getting turned into Mewtwo. They're getting turned into Psyduck. What benefit is it to you, Bill Nighy, if Ken Watanabe gets turned into a Snubbull? Just become Mewtwo, dude, who cares? You're rich. Imagine if Jeff Bezos transferred his mind into a horrifying homunculus that used spice to navigate through space and time. Amazon stock wouldn't even dip. Pokemon is the biggest franchise in the world, and yet this movie didn't even get a sequel. That's odd, right? Like, I'm not saying it deserved a sequel, there wasn't anything here that made me crave another, I'm just more perplexed than anything. The way Hollywood has worked for the last 20 years has trained me to expect some inevitable sequel when a movie like this comes out. Maybe not even a sequel, just another live-action movie. I figured they were gonna start pumping these things out, yet they never did. It's not a bad thing, it's just weird. Detective Pikachu didn't flop. It didn't have that many bad reviews. The only thing we know is that the movie didn't perform to expectations. It grossed $433 million with a budget of $150. So it made its money back, but just not Avatar money back. It was the second highest grossing video game movie ever at the time. In my opinion, that's not too bad for a movie based on a spin-off game that came out the year prior. But for the Pokemon Company and Nintendo, that was not good enough. Which to me is just kind of infuriating. Like, what were you guys expecting? Detective Pikachu didn't meet expectations. For one, because it was released only 2 weeks after Avengers Endgame. Why did you do that? And two, even if people did care about Pokemon, they might not care about this version of Pokemon. It's kind of ironic. Detective Pikachu was created as the most marketable version of the series, telling a story that didn't revolve around Pokemon battles. But that's what people care about. Maybe that fabled Red and Blue movie would have done gangbusters. Maybe that Bayformers version would have worked. For another series, this would have greenlit a sequel, and maybe even another. But when you're the biggest franchise in the world, $400 million is just not enough for a potential brand risk.
It's that stuff that I put up my nose. Not like that.
You see, I also have another theory. I can't really back it up with, like, a lot of evidence. This is more just vibes. But stick with me. Brands only take risks when they are in a slump. Movies take a while to develop. And Detective Pikachu as a movie clearly had multiple years in the cooker. The movie was announced in July 2016, which means that it was being planned even earlier. It was something the company was clearly excited about. A new step for the franchise, trying to get people back into it who had been away since they were kids. And that's just kind of funny, because something else happened in summer of 2016 as well. Kind of made all of that irrelevant.
Pokemon Go!
Pokemon Go was a phenomenon. It was really Pokemania 2.0, this time with adults. When I was in college, the entire campus was obsessed with catching Pokemon for weeks. It was something else. The closest we ever got to world peace. While Pokemon Go was a success, for mainline games at the time, sales were down. Even though the Pokemon series did have some greats on DS and 3DS, the series wasn't as big as it had been. I mean, while they were developing the Detective Pikachu movie, the latest games were stuff like Ultra Sun and Moon, Black and White 2. I could imagine Pokemon was very scared of the future. Then the Switch came out. The Switch was very popular, and whatever mainline Pokemon game came out on it was gonna be popular too. And man were they. By the time the movie actually came out in 2019, all of the concerns Pokemon really had been solved. You didn't really need a movie to get those millennials back into Pokemon when they were doing this. So when the movie did come out and it didn't perform the best, they just called it quits. Any new movie is simply a risk to the brand.
And secondly, get me the hell out of here!
Detective Pikachu as a movie was created in part out of fear for the future. So will we ever get another live-action movie? Probably, yeah. Nothing is stable forever. It's not like the Pokemon brand is in the best spot right now. While the Switch did have its heyday, who's to say what the future brings? Maybe Pokemon will look at what's happening with Mario and other video game properties, want to give it another shot. Crisis breeds creativity, for the most part. So hey, you know, Pokemon, if you're watching this, here's a little tip. If you're gonna have another live-action movie, maybe have more than like 30 Pokemon. Oh my god. I get there was a budget on this thing, but did they have to reuse the same dozen or so models to populate the entire world? What was up with that?
Wow.
I haven't seen so many Sneasels in my life.
What are you doing? I can't do it when people are watching.
Once again, special thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Go out and fly a tank, or plane, or a ship. Go do it now. If you don't, I'm gonna use the X-ray vision to look into your house.
Reggie Ice. Reggie Ice. Terrifying.
Hell is one of the oldest settings in art. It can be an infinite land of torment, a cosmic prison, or quite literally anything. Depictions of hell have always intrigued me, and it's been over a year since I've talked about them. But over time, I have been consuming media that feature various hellish environments, and some were so interesting that I felt like it was time to talk about them again. So what better time to do it than to celebrate hitting 50,000 subscribers? Be warned that I will be spoiling a lot of these stories, and let's get started. To start off, I have to talk about what is probably the most disturbing version of hell I've ever come across, and it is from the movie Altered States. In this movie, there's a scientist that is interested in human consciousness, so he undergoes various experiments that make him see strange things. I mentioned this movie in my depictions of nightmares video because most of the visions that we get to see are bizarre and look like nightmares. But there is this recurring vision of something more familiar and sinister, a fiery hell full of suffering. It's really fast and flashes a lot of clips quickly, and at first glance it's hard to even tell what you're looking at. There are people on fire, people climbing stairs just to jump off the top of them, others positioned against a wall in agony, a bunch of flesh just moving and writhing, and it really feels like something we shouldn't be witnessing, like we truly glimpsed at some forbidden memory buried in a distant consciousness. Then there's really random scenes mixed in, like horses, tornadoes, and waves all blending together. And the framing is so weird, it looks like distant stuff is close, and you really get a sense that it's all just wrong in the worst ways, about to topple over but remains tied together by some evil unhuman force. There is really tense music playing and also a distorted voice reciting a few ominous lines from Revelation. The sun became black as sackcloth, the full moon became like blood, and the great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea. Then the beast ascends from the bottomless pit. His name is Abaddon. These lines really paint a picture of the end times, so very fitting that they are being said during this scene. The sun goes away, the moon is red, and the beast Abaddon comes out of the bottomless pit. And this Abaddon is an angel of the abyss, which could also be a reference to hell, although it could be some other realm similar to hell, since he isn't the same as Satan. And in the movie it's implied that this whole thing is part of our buried subconscious, which is really scary. Like, stuff this horrible can be accessed by everyone if they go through some experiments or take mysterious substances, rather than it being another physical place that you can go. It's a unique take and adds something to hell. In the house that Jack built, we get to see a familiar depiction of hell as a serial killer is being taken through it by a character called Verge, just like Dante was being led by Virgil in the Divine Comedy. This movie is 2.5 hours long, and for the past 2 hours we just watched Jack kill all sorts of people in all sorts of ways. But now he has nowhere more to escape, and is forced to come to terms with his actions. The two of them begin by descending through some fluid and bubbles, and then they go through tight caves. And this part looks just like those cave diving videos, which I do find terrifying, so this fits right into my version of hell. There is something about the familiarity of videos like that, and the context here being a descent to hell, like maybe it's possible to end up in hell if you go diving in the wrong cave or something. Jack hears a high-pitched noise, and Verge explains that it's the sound of all the people in hell suffering melting together into one singular noise. There is so much screaming that it just sounds like a buzz that gets louder the closer you get. I assume if you got really close, you could discern the screams, but they don't get that close. They reach a clearing where there is a mill. Inside is a window to the Elysian Fields, which is a part of paradise for the heroes and the righteous in Greek mythology. It's kind of a cruel way to edge those in hell, I guess, by showing them heaven that they can't reach. When the mill starts spinning, it shows Jack all his memories from the movie. Maybe this is like a last recollection before you were sent to your circle. Along the way are some beautiful shots in slow-mo, and the deeper they go, the buzzing of the people suffering gets louder. And everything is stylized, like a moving painting, which is a stark contrast to the rest of the movie, where all the murders were pretty gruesome and face value. Ultimately, they reach a bridge under which is lava, and this is the deepest layer of hell. On the other side is the way out, but the bridge is broken. Jack doesn't actually belong on this layer. Verge just wanted to show him what the deepest layer looks like. But Jack, of course, gets the idea to try and climb over. Verge says that many have tried, but no one succeeded. But Jack thinks he has a shot and goes for it. Of course, he falls into the pit and goes straight to the 9th circle. I believe Verge meant to place Jack on the 7th circle, which is violence. More specifically, on the outer circle reserved for violence against others. This would be a river of boiling blood, while centaurs make sure that you don't get out. We don't actually see this, but it's cool to think about how it would look in the style of this movie. Anyways, I like this hell and its obvious reference to Dante's Inferno. The fact that we watch the main character sin for basically the whole movie makes this ending pretty rewarding, finally getting what he deserves. The Beyond is an Italian horror movie from 1981, and its depiction of hell is quite short, but effective. The premise is that a warlock lives in a room of a hotel that is placed right above one of the 7 gates of hell, and he is in charge of keeping the gate shut. He is working on a mysterious painting of hell that features a barren landscape. Years later, a woman inherits and reopens the hotel, which activates the gate, and creatures from hell begin to bleed into our reality. When the characters realize that the hotel is a gate to hell, the painting starts bleeding and corpses bleed into our world. The characters are in the hospital and try running away, but at this point it is too late, because when they go down to the basement, they find themselves in the basement of the hotel, with a glowing door in front of them, and screams of hellish beasts coming out of it. At this point they realize that there is nothing else to do, and nowhere else to run, so they just enter. And the hell looks just like the painting from earlier, with bodies fused together with the landscape, and the door they came through is gone. The two of them just have this empty stare on their faces as they come to terms with the fact that this is it. They are in hell and there is nothing that can be done about it. And then they just disappear. Maybe they get sorted to their correct level of hell or placed in purgatory. Technically that is the only sequence in hell, but there are sprinkles of bizarre and liminal imagery during times you would least expect it, and I would say those left just as much of an impact, if not more. For example, about just 20 minutes in, there is this scene where the main character is driving along a barren bridge with nothing around her but water, and the only sound is coming from the car. She looks away for a second, and when her eyes are back on the road, there is a blind woman with a dog, carrying ominous information. We later come to find that woman was never even real, so it's like that encounter was literally hell bleeding through to our reality. And another movie where we can see hell mixing with our reality is one that I just watched recently for the first time, and that is Southbound from 2015. In this movie, hell is like a small desert town, and those who sinned in some way find themselves here. The movie begins with 2 guys driving on a barren highway as otherworldly creatures follow them. Eventually, they reach a gas station, but the vibes are extremely off, especially with the girl working there. They try to leave, but the road keeps looping, and they keep returning to the same gas station. And the girl is just standing there like there is nothing unusual with them going one way and coming back the other. Anyways, one of the guys gets killed by the monster, and the other gets stuck in a motel in an infinite loop of rooms and hallways. Then there are 3 girls who did something to the 4th in their group, and they stumble upon a family worshipping some strange deity, maybe even Satan. They feed the girls some strange meat and convert them into cultish zombies. But you are able to visit without sinning. In another instance, a guy is looking for his sister. More specifically, he has been looking for her for 13 years. Pretty unlucky. He enters a bar where he thinks she might be located and gets into some trouble with the locals, who reveal that they have claws for hands. They try escaping, but the sister is content with being there. She admits that she killed their parents and doesn't mind being in hell, and she says that her brother has no place there. However, the demons do get him eventually, and then they take his clothes off, and who knows what else they did to him. Then there are these little scenes where the ground starts collapsing, and who knows no place there. However, the demons do get him eventually, and then they take his clothes off, and who knows what else they did to him. Then there are these little scenes where the ground starts collapsing, to really show you how fragile the reality is in this place, and I really like that. I like this movie because it's like a collection of short stories that take place in this hellish desert town, and how crossing the veil into the town is as easy as committing a sin. Maybe it's because the town is cursed in some way, so sinning close by gets you to hell. Or maybe sinning anywhere teleports you somewhere closer to this town, and therefore hell. It's all very cool to think about. A Short Stay in Hell is a novella by Stephen L. Peck that explores a terrifying depiction of hell, that of an extremely vast library that contains every book ever written, as well as every book that ever could be written. The main character is a Mormon who died from cancer and found himself in this hellish waiting room with a demon in front of him. The demon explains that Zoroastrianism is the one true religion, and anyone who didn't believe in it ended up in hell. The demon also decides that the narrator will go to the library hell, because he liked books once he was alive. From what we can see at this point, the library stretches up and down infinitely, with railing on the edges so you can't jump off into the abyss. Every 300 yards, there would be a break between the books. There would be a small room with 7 beds, a clock, water fountain, a kiosk that gives you any food you desire, and a bathroom. When the narrator visits the bathroom, he realizes that he's physically back to his 25-year-old body. Also, his memory is perfect. He can remember any moment from his life with 100% accuracy, and he says that he spends thousands of years doing just that at some point. Soon enough, he finds other people here, who are also all 25 physically. They exchange their life and death stories, and they form a small community, which I think is nice. I think if you had to spend eternity by yourself, you would go insane pretty quickly. There is 1 hour in the night when everybody is asleep and all the books get put back in place and stuff gets cleaned up, and anyone who died respawns. There is also a set of rules posted nearby. The first rule says that this hell is based on the Library of Babel, which is another story about the same infinite library concept. And the rules also say that everybody here needs to find the book that contains their life story. But although the library contains every book ever, most of the books are gibberish because the letters inside them are randomized. This makes the odds of finding a book that is in English insanely low, much less finding a book describing somebody's entire life. So pretty soon it becomes clear that this is all just a very cruel joke. The odds of finding a book with your life story are pretty close to zero. But even so, there is that small chance that you will find a book and be able to go to heaven or whatever the next hell is. And if it wasn't for that small chance of finding your book, it would almost be easier to just chill here, hang out with friends, and get drunk from the kiosk. But the fact that there is this tiny chance that you can save yourself, you would feel like you're not being productive when you're not searching for the book. It's kind of a perfect mental torture machine. Most of the other rules are classic stuff, like keep the place clean and try not to die again. But number 9 says that you are here to learn something, but you can't try to figure out what it is. I found this rule very interesting. And since finding a book of your life story is impossible, this hell is designed for some other purpose. My first thought when I was reading is, oh, I would just start at the bottom of the library and work my way up. But the bottom is so insanely far that you can never even reach it. And even if you could, you started at this arbitrary point, which you can't come back to. So you don't know if you passed it or not. And the library isn't really infinite. They do calculate the amount of books later on, but the narrator says it best. Finite does not mean much if you can't tell any practical difference between it and infinite. It all seems like a nightmare, and this feeling of vastness overcomes you when you try grasping the size of it. I did start to wonder what the other hells in this universe are like, since the demon in the beginning made it seem like there's more. And the characters at some point were wondering the same thing. Do you think there's some hell somewhere in the larger universe where people are running a chicken factory, another where they make these meals for the kiosk and send them here on some sort of conveyor belt? And it's also really cruel that there's no communication from demons or anyone. After you're being placed here, all reference of authority comes from that same set of rules from the beginning. One of the rules even says that you should read up on Zoroastrianism, but it's not like you could ever find a book on that. It's all very cruel, and it's not like you can ask somebody for help or anything. You're just stuck here with the same people and your thoughts forever. In the beginning, the narrator wonders how big the place truly is. How far was it to the end of the hallway in which we lived? Was it further than a mile? What if it were 100 miles? How many books would that be? What if it were 1,000? It wasn't that far, surely. He eventually finds someone who's done the math, and the number is 95 raised to the 1,312,000th power. And I can't honestly grasp how big that even is, but they do say it's more than the amount of electrons in the universe, which must be a lot. The first coherent phrase they find is "sack it," and they all go insane when they find it, trying to reference it to something from their life, like a backpack or a school bag or something. It's clear that everyone is losing their minds already, and eventually they form a sort of cult that studies all these coherent bits of text that they find. And a lot of people from other floors would visit to hear them analyze this holy text. However, other groups formed too, and not all of them were as nice as this one. There was one barbaric group led by a self-proclaimed prophet who would torture those that didn't want to join them. They would enslave people and then kill them as soon as they respawned. At one point they capture the narrator, and for 3 weeks he only has 6 conscious seconds per day before they kill him again and he makes the respawn window. People have relationships, but ultimately they all kind of dwindle down because there is nothing but time. There are no goals to work towards or anywhere to move. It's all just the same thing over and over again, forever. just kiosk food and the grind of looking for your book. There is a total deprivation of sounds and feelings. At one point, the narrator jumps into the hole in the middle just to feel something, and he's absolutely thrilled that he's able to experience something new for once. There was something real and final about this hell. I can't describe it, but there was a deep sense that this was more real than anything I had experienced on Earth. The difference in the quality of consciousness between dreaming and being awake was close to the difference between our old Earth life and the one here. But maybe the only hell worse than one with demons and rules is one where the ruler is incompetent and you still have to follow their rules and do what they say. I've read a few of Thomas Ligotti's stories since I discovered him, and although Gas Station Carnivals is my favorite, I think I've found my second favorite, that being The Town Manager, which paints a hellish, bureaucratic picture of a small town. The story begins on a cloudy day in the fall, with the people of an unnamed small town realizing that their town manager has gone missing, because the lamp in his office was no longer on. They are very hesitant to accept the fact that he's gone, and they check fuse boxes and electrical sockets before simply checking the switch. They don't want to accept that he just left them willingly, because something bad will happen if that's the case. They conduct a thorough search throughout the town trying to find the manager, but they only do so because the rules of the town mandate them to do so that they can tell the new manager they tried to find the last one, if he asks. However, these incoming managers care less and less, with the most recent one only saying a few words when they told him they couldn't find the previous one. Then he went back to taking a nap, which is something he would do a lot. Due to this futility, they vow to ask the next manager why they have to do all that. But as they're coming back from the search, they realize that the new manager is in, because the light is on. This guy's office is a rundown shed next to a farm. Previous managers used to work in fancy offices, but with each coming one, their office would degrade until this is what we're left with. Something far below what any town official should live in. They are not happy at all that a new manager is coming, and there is this distress and panic around the town. At first it seems that this is because they like the old manager, so they don't want him gone, but it's actually because with each new manager, the town enters a new low. To me it seemed like the manager is a demon and the town is hell, and each demon tries to make the town a worse place than they found it. One manager built a trolley across town, but the town is too small to need a trolley, so it was just a stupid thing to add, yet the people would still ride it for the novelty. The first communication from the new manager comes tumbling down the road, written on a piece of brown paper in charred firewood. And the message is to destroy the trolley, written just like this. They don't listen to the instructions at first because they're vague and they don't see any reason to destroy something a previous manager built. But the next morning they find those same words carved into the trolley driver's body, so they take it a little more seriously now. The next day, they receive some words of praise. And to me, this felt like a kid playing with his toys, without really knowing what he's doing or what's going on, and the toys have to go along with it, or face the severe repercussions. The town then underwent bizarre transformations that seemingly served nobody. The manager got outside workers that changed the whole town, which now did not resemble a town as much as it did a carnival funhouse. And those of us who lived there functioned as sideshow freaks once we had been notified. For example, the hardware store became a maze of lavatories. Upon entering the front door, you immediately found yourself standing between a toilet and the sink. Built into one of the walls of this small room was another door that opened upon another lavatory that was somewhat larger in dimensions. This room had two doors that led to further lavatories, some of which could be reached only by ascending a spiral staircase or walking down a long, narrow corridor. Each lavatory differed somewhat in size and decor. None of the lavatories were functional. The barber shop was turned into Baby Town, which was a large playpen with a bunch of stuffed animals, and the barber had to wear infants' clothing. Other buildings looked abandoned, but if you explored enough, you would find a theater playing bizarre cartoons or a art gallery with strange pictures. Just strangeness all around. There were roads with perpetual nighttime, and some of them would end up in people's homes. There would also be hallways which would get tighter and tighter until you had to turn around because you couldn't keep going. The narrator himself works at a kiosk selling some strange soup, and it paints a liminal picture. At the terminus of an obscure alley, where steam was pumped through the holes of a false sewer grating, I had been stationed in a kiosk where I sold soup in paper cups. To be more accurate, it was not actually soup that I was given to sell, but something more like bouillon. Behind the counter that fronted my kiosk, there was a thin mattress on the floor where I could sleep at night, or whenever I felt like sleeping, since it seemed unlikely that any customers would venture through the labyrinth of alleys so that I might serve them. But against all odds, this transformation attracted visitors,
I'm gonna get going,
at least
so
for some
I'm
time,
really
and made the town manager plenty of
struggling
money, which
to
the
keep my eyes
townspeople
open.
never got to see, of course. Then the manager left, like they always do,
But I'll try to
but
get
the
on
town
tomorrow.
remained this bizarre carnival with no purpose.
Yeah,
I won't
come
spoil the
some
end
more.
of this one because it's quite rewarding, I think, and I left out quite a few descriptions of the town, so it's still worth a read, even if you watch this first. I would also like to give a huge thank you to the members, so big thanks to Wiz, Thomas Dubecki, Nighttime, Risperidana, Teresa Raskin, Ray, Olivia Shell, Nick Blach, and Obsidian King. And I'll see you all in the next video.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get on tomorrow. We'll see. I gotta work tomorrow, but I am just so tired and I can't keep my eyes open. I'm sorry. Take care. Love you. Peace out.